Okay, so
Yeah.
Emmanuel, we've known each other now for about a year and a half. We first met at the TTN conference last year and have both been on the LoRaAlliance Ag Vertical since then. You wear two hats, so when I speak to you, it's either with the LoRaAlliance working group or with your SEMTECH hat on. But why don't you just introduce yourself and a little bit about your background?
Well, so as you said, today I'm working for SEMTECH, and I'm in charge of I've been in charge of the smart agriculture vertical in SEMTECH for more than 2 years. Means connecting the ecosystem of the smart agriculture solution using LoRa, and one of the places where I was connecting most of the people was with the LoRaAlliance and this working group where we work together, organizing events in the smart agriculture. Before joining SEMTECH, I spent 15 years or 17 years, I think, developing IoT solution. At this time, when we started in 2003, we weren't even talking about IoT, but that was some sort of connected sensors to monitor some industrial production tools, and that's when we started the project. And the production tools became very quickly these tools that we find everywhere in the fields in Brittany, with a black and white dress. Called cows, and then during 15 years I was designing and developing sensors to do the cattle monitoring, mainly dairy cattle monitoring, with different solutions around these built around the IoT devices that were either color tag, either a vaginal thermometer, or what we call a bolus, with 3 or 4 solutions: calving detection, heat detection solution, activity monitoring, or ingestion monitoring.
Cool. And when I talk about IoT, I've only been in the industry for about 18 months. And even then I see new people coming in all the time. You've been working in it for 17 years, I think you said.
Yeah.
So can you just describe the evolution that you've seen in that time? Because some people don't even know it's been around that long.
Well, I think the biggest difference is that at the beginning we were considered as really crazy people trying to use wireless technology to connect devices. And we had to build everything from scratch and to set up our own radio link, and then to imagine our own protocol, to imagine a lot of things to enable our solution. When today there are a lot of solutions off the shelf, where you have existing modulation, existing protocols, and a lot of operators and network servers. I mean, today it's more like a Lego, taking some bricks and build the solution. 17 years ago, you had to go down to the sand, the water, and the cement to try to build something.
Build your own bricks.
Yeah, build your own bricks first.
Okay, so if we take a kind of big step back and talk about kind of what does IoT mean to you? So you've talked a bit about connected devices, but as a kind of industry and the kind of fundamentals of what that means, can you just describe that in your own words?
Well, in general, IoT, it's Internet of Things, so we can consider everything as a thing, and from there, connected to Internet. But the connection to Internet, I would say that's the end part of it, and there is a lot of steps before being able to connect something to Internet. And of course, when we did the first devices and the first calving detection solution, for instance, the calving detection solution was sending a text message to the farmer to inform the farmer that the cow was starting to calve. And what the people were keeping as an image of the solution was that we gave the possibility to the cow to send a text message to the farmer when it was giving birth. So that's how you can illustrate Internet of Things. You give to things or to bodies that are not used to communicate the possibility to communicate with human beings that we are and to send us some information. That's how I would illustrate the IoT.
That's a really nice example. So if we kind of talk about then kind of the leadership skills or the approach that you need to succeed in this ecosystem at the moment. So you've talked about kind of building your own bricks from sand and mortar, that the ecosystem is now moved forward a bit so that there's at least some bricks out there that people can pull stuff together. If we kind of take a step away from the technology for a minute and talk about the people and the types of skills or approach that you need to have to succeed, what do you see there?
I think the key word for me would be being open-minded. There isn't one solution that can cover everything. There isn't a magic solution. There are so many different situations all around with what we want to do with IoT that every technology, every solution has a room. Some are more dedicated to certain type of use case. Some others will be dedicated to another type. There is room for everybody. And the most important is really to be open-minded, really to listen to the different technology existing. And especially when you want to develop a solution, try to really be open to all the proposals at the beginning. Of course, at a certain stage, if you want to get to the end, you need to make a choice. But to make the choice, it's, I would say, an enlightened choice will be only if you have a really open mind approach.
And in preparation to this, I asked you how you kind of described yourself as kind of the leadership skills that you have. And you talked about collaborative management and ecosystem leader. Do you want to just talk a little bit more about that? Because it's actually one of the biggest problems at the moment is about turning kind of IoT options or the bricks into real solutions. And that's kind of a big part of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, that's what I'm doing every day. But in terms of management, that's my vision today. If you had asked me 17 years ago when we had to do everything on our own, I wouldn't have had the same approach. But today we are in a situation where we have to go fast, to save time in the development and everything. And for that, you cannot afford to reinvent the wheel every day. There are enough solutions off the shelf to build the solution, enough bricks available. You don't need to design your own bricks. You don't need and so to use the bricks that the others develop, you need to be open-minded. You need to have this ecosystem approach and really try to see how you can fit in this ecosystem to bring I would say the most essential part of your knowledge, and not to waste time on redeveloping things that are already existing.
Okay, great, thank you. And kind of when I look at like there's lots of different industries out there that IoT can influence. And some of us have spent more time, for example, in agriculture or industrial IoT, where some of the communication challenges or distances are more real. In others, where you can maybe use more of a smart city example or a smart building example, where the infrastructure is easier to put in place, or systems are maybe a bit more mature. Just from your own perspective, and just your own background and the people that you're speaking to, where are you seeing the biggest kind of benefits of IoT at the moment?
That's a very good question, but to be honest, the answer is not easy.
No.
The answer is not easy. There are a lot of markets. Some of them are maybe more, I would say, natural, or they will come more easily. Like when you talk about utilities, you know, to collect measurement, metering records and things like that. That's something that's already, I would say, more mature. And it's not very complicated to explain the return on investment on this type of solution. In some other situation, it's more complicated to make people confident in wireless technology, for instance, when they have been used. I hope you can still see me.
Yes, I can see you.
So when you've been used for many years to use a wireline solution to monitor a building, for instance, explain to people that now you're going to do exactly the same thing with wireless solution. That's suddenly very surprising, and some people are not very confident. So I think the biggest barrier is probably the adoption by the end users. That's definitely the biggest barrier. Once you go over this barrier, there is, of course, the next barrier will be to leverage the information that you collect. And I think we have a lot of solutions today on the market, and that's true on the ag market, but I think it's also true on other vertical. But we have a lot of solutions on the market, but probably too much siloed today. And each solution can create its own value on its own. But if you manage to aggregate the different data that you collect from different solutions, then you will create much more additional value for the end user.
Yeah.
And I think the challenge now will probably be in the aggregation of the data to really create additional value out of what we have done so far.
Yeah, yeah, nice.
That's the next step of IoT.
Yes, it is. It is the next step of IoT, absolutely. Okay, so I think one of the next questions I wanted to talk about was kind of how you've learned along the way. So as you've said, you know, you've been on a journey, even the leadership style that you have or the challenges have changed along the way. As far as kind of being open to change, also knowing that you might not get it right first time, and that you have to kind of maybe change along the way. As new people come into this space and go looking for their solution, or they're trying to add their solution into the ecosystem, their brick, so to speak, into the ecosystem. Mm-hmm. What words of advice would you have for them in getting started, and also when they manage to hit their own brick wall along the way?
Well, I would come back to what I was saying. There isn't a magic solution. No one has invented yet something really magic that solved everything. So I would say be humble and be open. Look at what is existing. Some people can probably give you a lot of very good advices in the environment. Listen to it, build around that, and use that as the basis and the foundation of what you're going to bring and where you're going to put your brick wall. You really need to learn from all the others. Today, we are in this society where we share the information as much as we can. There's probably too much information in this society, so we need to filter. But then from the information we keep, we need to build on knowledge based on this information.
Nice, nice. And then if you were to do it all over again, what would you do differently?
Wow. Well, if I had to do all over again what I was doing 17 years ago with the technology that we have today, I would have gone very faster, much faster, yeah. But I don't know if I would have changed a lot of things, actually. I think it was a very good experience. We were focusing on an area that was probably the most mature in terms of IoT in agriculture. The cattle monitoring is the area where today the farmers are not questioning the idea of putting sensors. There's still some areas where the question of the sensor is still in the head of the farmers. Dairy cattle monitoring, it's not a question today. Every single cattle has a sensor. It's something that came long ago at the time of the first automatization of the milking process, when farmers started to put some distance between the animal and himself. The first thing that he lost was the capacity to detect the heat of the animal. Because for a very long time already, we use artificial insemination in dairy production. It was really necessary to have a good heat detection because you don't have any production without reproduction. Yeah. So that's what opened the path for cattle monitoring. And that started probably 25 years ago. So that means that when we arrived on the market 15 years ago was probably the most mature area. And that's what I would recommend. If I had to redo it again, I would really try to find a place where already the question of the sensor, the question of the IoT is not too much of a question. Again, that's what I was saying. The first barrier is the people that are going to use the technology. They have to trust the technology. They have to understand the use of this technology. That's the first barrier. So if we can have also already this first barrier open, that will help for the next step.
Great. Great.
If there is only technical barriers, that's the easiest way.
Yeah. Okay, and then we talked about a little bit in preparation for this about what success means to you. So lots of people talk about the dream of IoT, and I think everyone can understand the very, very distant or long-term goal of using data to help decisions, whether it's as a farmer, whether it's in a building, whether it's utilities, logistics, across any business. Data can help you make decisions. But there's success for the industry, there's success for you as a person, there's success at product level. What do you see as being success for IoT?
I think today no one wants to do IoT to do IoT. We do IoT to solve an issue, to solve a problem, or to help someone to make a decision, and to facilitate the work of someone every day. That's, or maybe to lower the cost of a process, but in any case, there is to be a solution involved in the IoT design. It's not only the sensor to put a sensor. I can put plenty of sensors in my house. If I don't use them, it's a waste. And for me, something successful is something that I use every day, that someone can talk about, and the people in the environment are talking about as a success, as something useful. So a solution that is recognized by the professional. If I do a solution for farmers, I want the farmers to talk about it as a real solution for them, not something that will decorate the farm for 6 months and end up in a cabinet. There's been so many solutions like that in farms that was really the first thing we started to worry about when we went to see farmers and tell them the first time that we want to do some IoT. We didn't have the word at this time, but we went to see some farmers. We explained them that we want to do some sensors and put the sensors on the cow. They gave us a list long like that of preconization and recommendation and everything. And to be honest with you, the first time we had this talk on the way back in the car after discussing with the farmers, there was no noise. We were all thinking like crazy and all thinking that we are crazy. But at the end of the day, when we saw on the different events, the product recognized by the people of the profession, saying that it's really an improvement for the detection of the calving, that farmers are now sleeping during the night and they have this assistance system and everything. That's, for me, that was a successful solution because it's really solving a situation. And that's the biggest challenge when you work on something. Starting with, well, I'll do that and we'll see how we'll fit it in the environment, doesn't go very well, very far on me.
No, definitely not. Okay, and then just a final question. I also talked about or asked you to think about someone who has inspired you on your journey, a story, a forum, a book, a person. Do you want to just talk about that and kind of what you've taken from them, or because you put both a book and a person? Just talk about that.
Yeah, I talk. I mean, the person that I put in this when we were talking, preparing it, is Nelson Mandela. Just because for me, I think he was one of the best leaders that we had in our world during the last 20, 30 years. And the biggest lesson you can have from a guy like that is just humility. And stay with feet on the ground. Don't make foam and smoke around. Just stay with feet on the ground and remember where you're coming from, where you want to go. And think of it every day, and that will help.
Okay, one final question, and then we'll wrap up. Which is, can you describe the status of IoT today in 3 words?
Wow.
Is that one of the words?
Well, status of IoT in 3 words.
Just kind of, where is it today? For anyone kind of thinking about coming in or wanting to know about it. What?
I would say it's on its way.
Nice. Okay. Well, thank you very much.
There's still a long way to go.
Well, thank you so much, Emmanuel.